Why smart people make terrible decisions. Here's something that doesn't make sense. Some of the smartest people you know make the dumbest decisions. The brilliant engineer who can't figure out their own finances. The straight-A student who keeps dating the same type of toxic person. The successful executive who falls for an obvious scam. We assume intelligence protects us from poor choices, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Being smart can actually make you worse at decision-making. And today, we're going to talk about why. First, let's get clear on what we mean by smart. Intelligence isn't one thing. There's IQ, which measures logical reasoning and problem solving. There's emotional intelligence, which is about understanding feelings and relationships. There's practical intelligence, knowing how to navigate real-world situations. And there's wisdom, which is something else entirely. You can score off the charts on an IQ test and still make catastrophically bad life choices. Because intelligence and good judgment, they're not the same thing. In fact, research shows that highly intelligent people are just as susceptible to cognitive biases as everyone else, sometimes more so. Let's talk about why. Smart people overthink everything, and I mean everything. When you have a powerful analytical mind, you can see every angle, every possibility, every potential outcome. Sounds like an advantage, right? Except it's not, because when you can imagine 10 different ways something could go wrong, you freeze. This is called analysis paralysis. You gather more data, you create more spreadsheets, you consider one more scenario, and while you're busy thinking, you miss the moment to actually decide. Meanwhile, someone less intelligent makes the good enough choice and moves forward. They don't have the curse of seeing all the complexity, so they just act. And here's the kicker. In many situations, a decent decision made quickly beats a perfect decision made too late. But smart people struggle with this because their brain won't let them choose until they've thought through everything, which is, of course, impossible. Let's talk about something researchers call disrationalia. It's a term coined by psychologist Keith Stanovich, and it describes smart people who can't think rationally. See, intelligence helps you process information, but it doesn't necessarily help you process it correctly. In fact, here's where it gets wild. Smart people are better at rationalizing bad decisions. Matt, think about it. If you're highly intelligent, you're really good at building arguments, at finding evidence, at constructing logical sounding explanations for whatever you want to believe. So when you make an emotional decision, and you will because you're human, your big brain kicks in to justify it. You create an elaborate, intellectually sophisticated reason for why your gut feeling is actually a brilliant strategic choice. This is called motivated reasoning, and smart people are experts at it. A less intelligent person might just say, I don't know, it felt right. But a smart person, they'll build you an entire framework explaining why their impulsive choice was actually the result of careful consideration. They'll believe it too. Here's another problem. Smart people often have huge egos about their intelligence. And that ego becomes a liability. When you've been told your whole life that you're smart, when you've succeeded academically, when people come to you for answers, you start to believe you're smart about everything. This is called the halo effect. You're good at math, so you assume you're also good at investing. You're a brilliant coder, so obviously you understand human psychology. You aced law school, so clearly you know how to run a business. Except, no, being smart in one domain doesn't make you smart in all domains. But here's the trap. Smart people have a harder time admitting what they don't know because their identity is wrapped up in being the person with answers. So instead of saying, I don't know, or I need help, they wing it. They make decisions in areas where they have no expertise, assuming their general intelligence will carry them through. And then they're shocked when it doesn't. Let's talk about something darker. Smart people are better at deceiving themselves. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive sophistication. It means you have the mental tools to construct complex thoughts. But those same tools can be used to build elaborate self-deceptions. You can intellectualize your way out of facing uncomfortable truths. The smart person in a failing relationship doesn't just ignore the red flags. They create an entire theoretical framework for why the relationship is actually fine. They reframe, they recontextualize, they find exceptions. Yes, they lied, but here's the nuanced psychological reason that makes it understandable. Sure, this isn't healthy, but I've analyzed it from multiple perspectives and concluded it's situational. They're so good at arguing with themselves that they win every time, even when they're wrong. A less intelligent person might just feel that something's off and walk away, but a smart person, they can talk themselves into staying in bad situations for years because they're smart enough to explain away anything. Here's something most people don't consider. Intelligence is actually really narrow. Yeah, let me explain. Your brain might be incredible at abstract reasoning, at seeing patterns, at solving complex problems, but none of that helps you with basic life skills. Being smart doesn't teach you how to regulate your emotions. It doesn't give you common sense. It doesn't make you good at reading people. It doesn't help you understand when you're being manipulated. In fact, smart people are often easier to scam. Why? Because scammers know that smart people think they're too smart to be scammed. So the con becomes, make them feel like they figured it out themselves. Make them feel like they discovered the opportunity. Feed their egos. And the smart person, confident in their ability to see through deception, walks right into the trap. Because they were so focused on being clever, they forgot to be careful. Let's talk about stress and decision making, because this is where intelligence really fails us. When you're stressed, anxious, tired, or emotionally overwhelmed, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. That's the part of your brain responsible for rational decision making. And guess what? It doesn't matter how smart you are. When your brain is in survival mode, intelligence doesn't protect you. The genius has the same stress response as everyone else. The same fight or flight, the same emotional reactivity, the same bad decisions made from fear. Actually, it might be worse for smart people because they're used to relying on their intellect. So when their brain isn't working at full capacity, they don't realize it. They still think they're being rational. They make an impulsive choice while stressed, and then immediately construct a smart-sounding reason for it, and because it sounds smart, they don't question it. Here's the paradox. Sometimes being smart means knowing you're not smart about everything. Wisdom isn't about having all the answers, it's about knowing which questions you can't answer alone. The wisest people I know aren't necessarily the smartest, but they're humble. They ask for help, they admit uncertainty, they're okay with, I don't know. Smart people struggle with this, because admitting you don't know feels like admitting you're not smart, and when your entire identity is built on being intelligent, that's threatening. So instead of seeking advice, they figure it out themselves. Instead of learning from others' mistakes, they insist on making their own. Instead of accepting that some things are outside their expertise, they push forward anyway. And that's how brilliant people end up making terrible decisions. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they trust it too much. So what do you do if you're a smart person who makes dumb choices? First, separate intelligence from wisdom. Being smart means you can process information quickly. Being wise means you know which information matters. Second, learn to recognize when you're rationalizing instead of reasoning. Ask yourself, am I looking for the truth or am I looking for evidence that supports what I already want to believe? Third, build in decision-making safeguards. Talk to people who think differently than you. Set rules for yourself before emotions get involved. Use frameworks. Use checklists. Use accountability. Fourth, get comfortable with I don't know. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. You don't have to figure out everything yourself. And fifth, remember this. Intelligence is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used well or poorly. A hammer can build a house or break a window. Your intelligence can solve problems or create elaborate justifications for avoiding them. The choice is yours. At the end of the day, being smart is not the same as being right. And being intelligent is not the same as making good choices. The smartest thing you can do, recognize the limits of your own intelligence. Question your own reasoning. Stay humble. Because the moment you think you're too smart to make a dumb decision is exactly when you're most likely to make one. If this video made you think twice about your own decision making, hit subscribe for more psychology content that challenges the way you see yourself in the world. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more psychology topics.